Hey,
Oh,
woo!
good to be here.
I'm so excited to have you on the show. You are so who knows when anybody will be listening to this, but you are the first recording for the year. It's the 2nd of January. It's 10 o'clock in the morning for me. So we are first cabs off the rank. I'm excited
Yeah,
to chat.
this is my first conversation with another business human this year, so it's pretty
Oh,
excited.
Well, I'm
Exciting.
well, I'm very honored that it's us.
Awesome.
So let's start just by telling everyone who you are and what you do.
So my name is Kate Toon, and I would call myself a business mentor and a digital marketing coach. I've evolved over the years. I've done many different things, but that's kind of where I'm sitting right now.
Amazing. Now, what does that mean exactly?
Exactly.
So, who are your customers? How do you help them? I can see you have a book behind you, which I need to add to my stack of
Your
books behind
huge
me.
stack, yes. Yeah, so look, over the years, I've done lots of different things. I've been a copywriter, an SEO consultant. But in the time of running my business, I've done pretty much everything: memberships and masterminds. I've written books, I've got podcasts, I've done conferences. I've overcome big money hurdles and productivity hurdles, built a profile, yada, yada, yada. So after so many years, I wanted to move into more of a generalist mentoring approach. I don't really like calling myself a coach, and that's a whole different conversation because I
Yeah.
feel coaches have a bit of a bad rep, nearly as bad as SEO consultants. So it's more about being a cheerleader, leading by example. So I'm still
Mhm.
very much in the arena doing the things, and I
Mm.
guess my superpower, my area expertise is digital marketing. Really learning how to use all the different channels, all the opportunities in an efficient way, and not becoming totally overwhelmed by it.
I love it. And that's so easy to be overwhelmed by all of the things, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
And I note you've got in your book title, it seems to be specifically targeted towards women, mums. Do you serve everybody or do you particularly focus on women in business?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I actually made a choice for the title to say how to be a successful parent rather than be a
Mm.
successful mum. No, I actually am not a fan. I mean, I understand why there are female only spaces, but I find we get a lot of great energy in my membership and my communities from the men, gay, straight, whatever. They bring a different vibe, and I like to have a kind of inclusive and diverse range of customers. So no, definitely not just mums. I mean, I think I speak from the experience of being a mum. But I
Mm.
know for that particular book, Six Figures in School Hours, I really wanted to acknowledge that there's a lot of dads doing a lot of hard work as well. I would say that more of the load seems to fall on mums, but there are some good dads out there too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is interesting, isn't it? I think that we kind of flip-flop a little bit between, being super focused on women's only groups and then having the diversity. Like it's really interesting. I'm kind of hopeful that there are enough things out there that we can kind of satisfy all needs at the
Well, I,
moment.
I think it's interesting because I think the pendulum has to swing, right? So for a
Yeah.
long time, there were no spaces for women at
Mm.
all, and we didn't have a voice, and we didn't have communities, and it was very male dominated. And now it's swung to the other side where there are lots of places for women, and to a degree, men are almost excluded from them. And maybe it'll end up somewhere in the middle. I totally see the value of having women's only groups, but for me, especially I think because I've come from very male dominated industries, SEO,
Mm.
often I was the only woman in a room. So I'm kind of
Mm.
comfortable around that male energy. I think males benefit from females in business and vice versa, and we're moving into a bit of a gender fluid environment anyway. So it all becomes a bit moot.
Yeah, that's actually such an interesting point. I remember I was trying to buy the Scrunch team, so Scrunch is my other business, gifts one year. And I was like, oh, for the girls, it's so easy. Business Chicks memberships, easy peasy. And the guy's like, what do you guys have now? Like, it was quite funny that the pendulum has swung a little bit.
Absolutely.
Well, and actually, in fact, the boys get in trouble now if there's boys only groups. So it's a funny time in which we live, isn't it?
Yeah, but and I think, as I said, I think the pendulum needed to swing that way because
Mm.
women have had a no space for so long. So if we've got a few
Mm.
spaces of our own right now, we'll just get over it. But
Totally.
yeah.
No, I love it. I love it. So now you mentioned being copywriter, SEO specialist. Were you working for other people or have you always been in your own business? Talk me through kind of career here.
Yeah, oh God, no. You know, I took the very traditional route of getting a proper job. I worked in events and then I worked in advertising agencies for a long time, you know, the big ones like Ogilvy and
Mm,
advertising.com. Generally as a producer, project manager, running big projects. I moved into copywriting while at Ogilvy, working for like Amex and Telstra, and then back to a managerial role in a digital marketing agency, which was horrific. Um, sorry to my old boss, Steve. It was great. Uh, and then I got pregnant, and I knew it would take me a long time to get pregnant, and I didn't think it was going to happen. So I felt like
mm,
it was a sign from the gods that I should take a different path. So when I was about 5 months pregnant, I set up my own business, doing everything. I had no idea what I was doing, and the rest is history. So I took the leap there, not because I was brave or because I had a plan, but because I was up the duff and needed to earn some money. So yeah, and I've kind of built the bicycle as I've ridden it,
mhm.
worked it out as I've gone along.
And do you think that, I guess, having that background, that skill set sort of made the process slightly easier, sort of being able to pick a path, or do you think it was just as difficult?
Yeah, I think, look, we all leave our real life jobs if we have them with skills,
Mm,
I had definitely had some great soft skills in terms of diplomacy and project management and relationship building, and I had some firm, marketing skills in terms of writing and and creativity and briefing, and I think really a work ethic, because in agency world you work very, very
mm,
hard, long
yes.
hours, so I think I definitely left with skills. Did they make starting a business easy? Absolutely not. I mean, a lot of them were utterly useless. I had no idea how to manage my money, how to self promote as a person, how to build a
Mm,
website, how to do. I didn't have the skills, the basics to run a small business, but I learned
mm.
them along the way.
And did you have a strategy around that? Was it just literally, oh shit, I need to do this now? Or like, how did you learn those skills?
Yeah, I mean, I've never had a strategy. I'm not a planner, which is, very counter to what a lot of business coaches would say. Have a plan, have a business plan, have a strategy, work out who your ideal customer avatar is, all that kind of stuff. I never did any of that. And I still don't to this day. I still
Mm,
don't, I've done a rough outline of what's going to happen in 2024, but I don't know. And I think
mm,
plans give you the illusion of control and people get very attached to them. And for me, most of the best things in my business were not planned. They were the
mm,
shiny objects, they were the road less traveled. And if I'd been so stuck with a plan, I think I would have missed them. So that approach, that iterative experimental approach, means it takes a bit longer and you make a few more mistakes. So I've never had a business coach. I've never read really a business book, although I've got a big stack of them. I don't like them. I like reading novels. I was in one membership for about 6 months, 9 years ago. I'm not someone that likes to be told what to do, even by myself, which can be problematic. Um, but it's muddled along all right so far.
Well, and that's interesting, isn't it? I'm just more and more leaning into do it your own way.
Mm,
I just feel like if you look around or look hard enough, there is an example of somebody who has been a success in every different way, shape, or form. The person, like the six figures in school hours, or the annoying people that wake up at 5 a.m. every day and journal and do whatever they do, or the people that work late at night. Like, there's always an example of somebody that's been a success. So I think you're right. Like having that tie down to something that is, unless you do X, Y, and Z, you are not going to be a success, is probably a little bit dangerous.
well, I think, yeah, it's so funny because I'm literally writing my next book,
Mm,
in the middle of writing it when we
mm.
called, and I'm having a bit of imposter syndrome at the moment and wondering, and
Oh,
I sort of had a bit of a Google to see what else is out there, and I wish I hadn't, because
mm,
obviously my book, my idea has been written before, and then if you go and look at the table of contents, you're like, oh no, they've covered the same points as I've covered before.
mm,
And it just, that actually stymies your creativity sometimes, looking
mm,
to others, because actually that has done is made me stop and go, oh, I can't write that because it's been done, whereas of course I can, because I'll be doing it my way with my voice. I'm obviously far funnier than anybody else who's ever written a book,
absolutely.
obviously. But of course, everything has been done before, and of course, there's
Mm,
someone out there doing a way better job than you are. But if you
mm,
thought about that, you'd never do anything, would you? So I find we talk about staying in your lane and being yourself. It's really hard. It's really
mm.
hard because you open any kind of app and there's 17 ads popped up to totally feed you stuff that's going to mess with your noggin. And so we need to go and live in a hut in the middle of nowhere and never talk to anybody and just work on our ideas. It's very
I
hard.
mean, oh my God. It is such an interesting thought though. You're right. Like if you think about every industry, every solution to every problem, if there was only one business doing it, we'd have like what, a handful of businesses that owned all of the customers and all of the money in the world. But no, people resonate with people, and that's kind of the magic sometimes. Yes, you're solving the same problem as somebody else, probably in a very similar way, but you've got your lens.
It's your
And
spark. It's like, your the very name of
thank you for
your
that.
show. It's some people, some people for some reason I just don't like the cut of their jib. They just
Mm,
irritate me. I don't know what it
yeah,
is. And the
yeah.
next person's selling the exact same thing, and I love them. But also, people will buy multiple things. I mean, look at your bookshelf. You've got multiple books there, and let's be honest, especially like in the
Half of them are
finance.
the same.
Yeah, half of them are the same. Every
Yeah.
year, a new book pops out, how to pay your mortgage off or how
Yeah.
to invest in shares. It's been written about 1,000 times, but we
Mm,
sometimes need to read it 6 or 7 times from different angles for it to click.
yes.
So, yeah, it's especially in the world of books, it's like you need to have an original idea, but it can't be too original because you need to have a proven market. And one of the things
Mm,
you're forced to do when you submit a book is tell them what other books are exactly the same as yours out there that have already sold. And you're like, I don't want to do that because I'm like, they'll
wow.
know that my book isn't original, but it needs to be original, but not too original. It's a weird thing.
So are your books published via a publisher, not self-published?
I've,
Talk
yeah, I've done a couple of self-published in the early days, but yes, my last one was a proper. I'm doing Air Fingers publisher.
Talk to me about the difference between that process. I'm fascinated. I have a small book, but it's more like a gift book rather
Lead
than a
magnet.
novel book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's sort of so it's self-published on Amazon. And that process was so easy. I don't know why people wouldn't do that every day of the week, other than the fact that writing a book is fucking hard. That's
Yes.
that's very hard. But talk to me about the two differences and how you found that. I'm always fascinated by this.
Look, I mean, I have been on both sides of it, and I think both have their pros and cons. Self-publishing is cheaper, it's easier, you have more control, you have final say. Um, the publishing through publisher has more kudos, I would say, more gravitas. The
Mm,
process is harder, and there's more rigor around the product that you produce because someone else is reading it and editing it, and you can't just say, "Oh, I want to write that," because they're like, "That sounds like
mm,
crap." But the cost is not dissimilar. Most smaller publishers will ask you to buy a number of copies to mitigate their risk.
mm,
So you probably end up paying a similar amount whether you hybrid publish, self-publish, or go through a publisher. But the biggest difference for me and the reason why I do it is number one, that kind of slight kudos of a real publisher, and number
mm.
two, distribution. It's
Yes.
very hard to get your self-published book into bookshops, into airport bookshops, anything beyond Amazon is a bit
Mm,
hard,
mm,
so that's why I think, and also, a, a really great publisher knows what book will work and what won't work, and
mm.
they'll give you advice around that as well. And my publisher Leslie is, very wise, and will give me direction, which, even at this stage, I need. I find it hard to take, but I do need it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, isn't it? I find that not accountability, but
Mm.
sometimes just somebody to say words at you and someone for you to say words back at, sometimes helps clarify things. And I find as a small business owner, sometimes it's difficult to find those people.
That's it, isn't it? I mean, that's why people pay fortune for business coaches because they
Mm.
think they're going to tell them what to do. But a lot of business coaches will just come back to you and say, "Well, how do you feel? What do you think is the next step?" And you're like, "Oh my God, oh
Oh,
my
tell me
God."
what to do. What am I paying you for?
Yeah, or they'll go the other way and say, "This is the only route. And if you're not doing
Mm.
it, there's something wrong with you. You don't want it enough. You're not trying hard enough." And you're like, "Oh
Yeah.
my God, like, I don't want that, doesn't fit me." So it is really hard to have. And that's why for me, what's always worked really, really well is not memberships and masterminds and expensive coaches and whatever. It's having a peer group of people
Mm.
that I can just maybe ask one, like today, you're probably struggling with a million things at the back of your mind, but there's maybe one thing that you're
Mm,
struggling with, you know. I'm going to ask Danielle about my thing after this, get an opinion, you see. And having a
mm.
chat with someone else who gets it is often enough to just let you take the next step, you
Yes.
know, and then the next one and the next one. My business has not ever been about big moves. It's been
Mm,
about small, iterative, tiny steps that have eventually got me there day by
mm,
day. And I think your peers are often better placed to give you that advice than some guru or, you know, great business entity on a hill, because your situations are so different. You know,
mm.
bring in like education, gender, generational wealth, opportunity. No two people are the same. So what worked for them highly likely isn't going to work for you. Yeah.
Yeah, that could not agree with you more. So then, you're saying at the start you are now a business mentor. What is your approach if somebody came to you?
I think I'm very honest. You know, I used to say brutally honest, but I've taken the brutal out. So I think, you know, my real goal for 2024 is to be kind, but to be firm, you know,
Mm,
and to tell people the hard truths in
yeah.
a gentle way that they need to be told. Because there's a lot of business coaches selling a dream, knowing full well that the person who's bought it will never succeed. I mean, most of
Mm,
the time, within 5 minutes of talking to someone, I know I know whether they're going to do it or not. You know, you just
yeah.
know, and 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 I would therefore not take their money
Yeah.
because it wouldn't morally sit well with me, and that would give me the icks. You know,
Yeah.
so I think it's very reality based. I don't like ongoing coaching. I'm kind of like, we need a session. You'd go away and do the thing, and then let's have another chat to say how it went. Don't
Yeah.
talk to me every week for
Yeah.
months and months, because if you haven't done it by month 6, you're never going to do it. You know it,
Yeah.
and I know it. So I'm
Mm,
short, sharp, realistic, honest, but I really want to be kind. You know,
mm.
sometimes you do have to poo on someone's bonfire, and it's awful, but it's better that it's better that that happens early on than after they've spent thousands of their family's money on something that was never going to work, and then they feel like a
Yeah.
bigger failure than they did at the beginning. So
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
I love it. No, and it's such an interesting approach. I think you're right. I think the world of, I mean, it's not just business coaching. I just feel like, anything online business at the moment, you've really got to be a little discerning about where you spend not just your money, but your time
Your
as
time,
well.
who you surround yourself with. I've
Mm,
got some weird algorithm on Instagram where pretty much everything that's coming up is giving me the massive X, you know, and I'm
mm.
pressing hide, hide, hide.
That
You
because
know,
it's like how to be a seven-figure
well,
earner
that's
in 2 seconds flat.
yeah. And I mean, ironically, the titles of my book are ironic. Six figures in school hours. What does six figures even mean? It's
Mm,
nonsense. Is that revenue or after tax take home pay? You know, before tax take home pay of 100K in this economy
mm,
isn't earth shattering. It's
mm.
good, but it's not going to change your life. So
Yeah.
you know, my next type book has an even more ironic title. I can't share it yet. It's the sort of title that would make you go, "Oh, what?" But I hope that people will see that I'm to a degree taking the piss.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I love it. And it is, look, as we said, I think it's just about being a little bit more discerning, and I feel like if it's too good to be true, it probably is. That's
Mm,
probably the biggest lesson I've learned over the last, I don't know, over a decade in business is it just doesn't happen quickly, Like there's the word viral and the word hustle
mm.
and the headlines and all the things. It's just the 1%, like this minority of people that, land on
And
that happening, and you
and
don't see the backstory
you
ever.
you don't. And also, would you want that? You know, like,
Mm,
would you really want to be Amy Porterfield with everything she has going on and a team and the
mm,
commitments she has to make, and you know the pressure to keep that appearance up, and you know maybe you would, maybe that's what people want.
mm,
She, you know, you might not know who Amy Porterfield is, or we could say Gary Vaynerchuk or Pat
mm,
Flynn, or you know,
mm.
I can see you've got Diary of a CEO behind you, Stephen
Haven't
Bartlett.
read that one yet, but
Yeah,
yes.
me either. But you know, these people are amazing. But would you
Yeah.
really want to do what they had to do to get where they are and then keep
Mm,
doing it? You know,
mm,
I think you have to be careful what you wish for. I went viral while I was on holiday in Bali. One of my Instagrams went viral. It was an absolute bloody nightmare because as
what
it got
happened?
well, I did a video and it got, you know, millions and millions of views and hundreds of
Mm,
thousands of likes. But as the circle went further and further away from me, It went
Mm,
further and further away from my core audience. What is the point
mm,
of having 1,000 followers who are never going to buy from me?
yeah.
Never going to, well, just that's the final point, who are never going to buy for me. I'm
Yes.
not, my business account on Instagram isn't there for fun. It's a mechanism to sell, to make money.
Mm.
And so viral is often a lot about ego. Yes, it's awareness, but it could be the wrong kind of awareness and attract the wrong kind of customers. So careful what you wish for, I think.
Yeah, and it does raise an interesting point as well about vanity metrics.
Yes.
Like it's so not only is it these words, six figures, seven figures, eight figures now I'm seeing, that is oftentimes a revenue number, which is not the profit number, which, okay, how much did they spend to get there if we want to
Yeah.
go there? But also yes, how many thousand followers, how many hundreds of thousands or millions of followers do I have? How many views has my TikTok gotten? But it's like at the end of the day, that's not going to pay the bills. Your rent, your landlord isn't going to accept TikTok views as payment for the month. So if that stuff isn't actually driving sales in your business, what is the bloody point?
Yeah. And what and how many sales? Like, when is
Mm,
enough enough? Maybe
mm,
six figures after tax revenue is amazing, and that's all you want. Yeah, but we're fed this line that we need to constantly up level and dream big
yeah,
and get bigger. And why?
yeah.
We're all going to end up in an old people's home, dribbling porridge down our vests
I
at the
can't
end of
wait.
the. Yeah, me either. But you know what I mean? Like, to what end? To what end?
Yes.
I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, I like earning money and I like nice things." I like nice things too, but there does come a point where it's like, I've got enough nice things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things aren't that important. Even experiences. I want to be able to travel the world and I want to be able to go here. Why? Why?
Mhm.
Like, just be happy where you are. This constant drive. I think we see a lot of these big entrepreneurs, and they're driven to the point where they can't stop. And that
Mm,
isn't something we should laud and put on a platter and go, wow, that's so
mm.
impressive. It's actually not impressive. The ability to do nothing and be content is far better. So look at me, I'm all philosophical. It's because I've had a break. I've come back all
I
woo.
I love it. I love a bit of woo woo in the morning. No, but it is really interesting because I find even myself, I'm, hyper aware that I, am in this world of social media and all these things, and I should be a little bit more skeptical. And it's funny, you say, okay, at the start of the year, what would my dream life look like, right? If I could spend my days doing anything I wanted, money's not an object, what would it be? And it's so funny because my answers are things like I would do yoga every day, I would read every day. I was like, none of that shit costs money. So
No. And you're probably already doing it. You just want to dial
like,
it up a little bit more. Like this, the last couple of weeks, I've worked from 9 till 1, then I've done whatever I want the rest of the day. And I
mm,
would like to do that day after day after day after day forever, and
yes.
not have too much stress, and not be under
Yeah.
financial duress, and not have
Yeah.
to deal with too many people. That's all
Mm,
I want. But we're not allowed to just want that, because that's not
mm,
ambitious enough, and you should be pushing yourself. And why, six figures oh god, it's the thing that we're fed as women, that we're never enough, and so we have to buy this and that, this
mm,
cream, that whatever. Business has done the same thing, and unfortunately, it's women doing it to other women, which is,
yeah.
it's I'm getting on me soapbox now. I'll get off.
No, I look, I think it is a really important discussion because I know, so the audience here, the Spark, are women in business,
Yeah.
right? And I know starting out the year, we are all writing down those to-do lists, the New Year's resolutions, the word, even the word of the year,
Oh
right?
yeah, I've got my
Whatever.
word.
Yes. What's your word? Can you share it?
My word this year actually is recovery, which
Ooh.
doesn't sound very positive, and in reality, it isn't. 2023 was a very hard year for me.
Mm,
I kind of played in my business. I had my book launches. I traveled a lot,
yeah.
and it took my eye off the ball. And now
Mm,
I want to have a really solid year of just staying at home, earning
yeah.
some decent money, and spending time with my family, and recovering mentally, spiritually, financially from the previous years. I think we've all struggled the
Mm.
last few years. So, what's yours?
I love that so much. I haven't got it yet. What I've decided, so last year mine was overflow. And it's really
Oh,
interesting because careful what you wish for.
what does
My
that mean?
Well, so it was another take on abundance. So
Okay.
overflow, as in I kind of visualized a river, right? Like so many opportunities, so much happening. And unfortunately, I finished the year feeling exactly fucking like that. Like I couldn't do it
Actually, the
all.
first thought that came in my mind was drowning in.
Yes. Yeah, be careful what word you pick,
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
So I don't know. So this year for me, and look, it sounds so cliche, I know, but I kind of looked at my life at the end of the year and I thought, I have definitely not looked after myself. My
Mm.
health took a real hit in 2023. And, and again, the type of business that I created was very service-based business. And so I really want to focus in on, and that just kills you sometimes,
Yeah,
currently chasing invoices as we speak,
yeah.
and it's so I really wanted to move back to, more scalable membership, community driven
Well, you're
products
gonna
and stuff.
love my next book then, because that's what it's all about.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought, I'm the type of person that's like, vision board, want this, want that. Here's 100 things to focus on, and then so overwhelmed. And I went, you know what? If I just focus on this and this, so health and wealth, the rest is going to fucking happen. I don't have to have a list of 100,000 things that I have to tick off every day, week, month. If I just put those two values at the core of what I focus on and make sure that every day I'm doing something that contributes to my health or wealth, then that, like, at the end of the year, I've got to be in a better position.
Yeah.
So I haven't
Just
quite picked the word yet, but I've picked two core pillars of focus.
Well, that's good enough. In the word, I'll have forgotten my word by the 5th of January. Don't worry about it. But I think it's also, one of the hardest things about having a business, especially as a woman, is the ability to turn up every day,
Mm,
do stuff, regardless of
mm,
what's going on with your family life, your
yes.
health, your hormones.
Yeah.
We're all over the shop. Let's be honest, a lot of the time, some days I'm on top of the world and the next day I can
Mm,
barely get out of bed. And to
mm,
year after year do that, that's a lot. So being able to turn up and feel good about what you're doing doesn't sound like a lofty goal, but it's
mm.
enough. It's enough.
Exactly. And enough. Maybe enough is the no, I don't want enough as my word. But yes, it is interesting, isn't it? It's just the funny time of year where it's like feel like you're ripping a band-aid off the last year. You want all of this invigoration and inspiration. And I must admit, I sat down at my desk this morning and went, holy shit, I
Yeah.
don't even know where to start again. I'm like,
And
this
I've
is
got to speak to
how
that
I felt on the
bloody Kate
22nd.
Toon woman at 10 o'clock as well. Yeah, it's really hard. And, the truth is, I think it may have been Picasso, I don't know, but it was inspiration finds you working.
Mm,
Inspiration literally means the breath of the gods. It's elusive and fleeting
mm,
and rare. And so most of it comes from just plodding on. It's not sexy. But a
mm.
boring business, a business which is kind of formulaic and systemized, is generally a successful business. So
Yes.
yeah, constantly seeking the highs and the highs means you're going
Mm.
to have lows. I kind of seek the middle line, which makes me sound very dull, but it's easier and better on the adrenals and the emotions as well.
Yeah, and look, I love the word boring, and that sometimes there's a great, I don't even know who it was, but it is that just, this idea of putting in the reps, it's the boring stuff. It's no one wants to show up and record a podcast or post a reel on whatever, and and yes, sometimes it's almost like, the more you can sit in boredom, the
Yes.
more successful you'll actually be.
Boom, there's the quote of this podcast. It's sitting in the discomfort of tedium. That is
Mm.
really hard. And the gym analogy is one that I love. I use that all the time. Uh, you think you need this sexy new routine and a new app, and you need to be doing this new thing with the cable that you're not quite sure how to do. No, you could go to the gym and do pretty much the same exercises every day for a month, increase the reps, increase the weight, change it up. But you don't need some innovative,
Mm.
wacky new thing. You already know what
Yeah.
you need to do. You just need to do it for probably longer than you feel comfortable doing it for. And
Yes.
that's where success comes from. So annoying, but it's true.
Yeah, it is annoying, isn't it? I
Yeah.
remember like when I first started my business, oh God, it's over a decade now. And you read all of the books and you find Tony Robbins and the 4 Hour Work Week and all these things. And I just remember this like, oh my God, like the world of possibilities, everything was shiny. And I'm like, I'm never gonna get that feeling back, am I?
It's the first glass of champagne. It's always good. And then
Oh,
after that, you're just desperate for that dopamine high that you got with the first glass, and it doesn't come. But
that's
that makes it sound really depressing. There is a lot of pleasure and comfort in just
mm,
knowing that things are going good and you're content and you have people around you that you enjoy working with and great members and listeners to this
yes,
pod. That's a lovely feeling. I think
it is.
we misconstrue stress for excitement often.
Mm,
And
mm.
instead, we need to settle with contentment. We think it's boring, but contentment is really good. That's where the serotonin comes from. We need to have serotonin businesses, not dopamine businesses, you know? So steady, slow release contentment rather than constant highs and then the inevitable lows.
No, I love it so much. I couldn't agree more. And you've given me, I'm so glad we had this one scheduled today because you've given me life for my my 2024 planning. Oh, so good, so good. Now, I always like to leave our fabulous listeners with one last piece of advice. So, reflecting on your journey in business, if you could offer a piece of advice to a woman who is on her business journey, what would that be?
I think we've kind of covered it, but I think it's look within rather than look without, which is incredibly
Mm,
hard.
mm,
Think about all the we talked right at the beginning of the episode about what
mm,
skills I'd bought. I think we underestimate our soft skills. You know, the ability to talk to people, be organized, plan, you know, help people, and we're constantly thinking we need to be experts at this. So
mm.
look within, find your soft skills, and try and lean into those. People say, you know, good things happen out of your comfort zone. A lot of really good things happen in your comfort zone, and it's a great place to start.
Oh, I love that. Here's cheers to staying in your comfort zone and regulating our nervous system in
Exactly.
2024.
Yes, yes.
You, you are absolutely incredible, Kate. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, spending your time with us. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.